Good morning and welcome to this webinar. I'm going to speak very slowly at the beginning, just while people get loaded onto the platform. But I can see we've already got 200 people joining us.
Wow.
And going up very rapidly, which is absolutely terrific. Yes, we've hit 300. So welcome to everyone who's joining us for this webinar. It's really terrific to see so many people, over 400 already. We're actually something like 2,000 people actually registered. So I'm going to just keep us waiting a little bit before we finally start the program properly. Well, I think a lot of people are now already with us. So let me start off with a welcome to this great webinar, which I'm absolutely delighted that so many people are joining us for this great discussion about the challenges of nurse leadership in India. My name is Nigel Crisp, and I am the co-chair of Nursing Now, and it is my privilege and my pleasure to welcome you to this great webinar. That's my picture on the left there, and as you can see, I'm wearing my Nursing Now tie. You may be pleased to know that the Scottish nurses created a tartan for Nursing Now. Anyway, so let me just talk a little bit about the context, and then I'm going to hand over to Lisa, whose photograph you can also see there. And let me just congratulate the organisers before we start for organising this webinar, which I think is a really important issue. I was delighted to visit India in June last year with Lisa to launch the Nightingale Challenge, and we have had an absolutely wonderful response. Let me say I'm particularly grateful to Sangeeta Reddy, the Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals and Chair of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce. She's provided great and personal leadership. I noticed that, I remember at the time, she said she was going to encourage 100 employers across India to join in, and that should involve 2,000 young nurses and midwives. Well, Lisa will give you the figures later on, and it's much more than that. And she has provided great and personal leadership. Sadly, she's not able to be with us, but I'm absolutely delighted that the head of nursing for Apollo, Captain Usha Banerjee, will be talking about Apollo. And she and others on this program have been providing great leadership as well, because it's all about people. It's always all about leadership and people and relationships. Nursing Now has a lot of links with India. Let me also mention Srinath Reddy, Professor Srinath Reddy, who's one of your leading doctors in India and is a great advocate for nursing taking a larger role. And he comes at that from a point of a senior medical professional and really understanding how much larger role nurses can play in the future. I know there's some great developments in India, which we're going to hear about, but I'm also aware of the ravages of COVID and how very tough that must be for people working within the health system and, of course, for everyone within the population. And I offer you my best wishes for managing this very difficult pandemic. Now, the developing nurses is really important in the long run. It's important for tackling infectious diseases like COVID, but it's important for our health in every aspect. And for too long, as a global community, we have neglected nurses, I think, undervalued and underappreciated what nurses can do. And that's what Nursing Now is all about. It's about improving health globally through raising the profile and status of nurses, allowing nurses to be everything they can be and to contribute even more. And I'm delighted that the Nightingale Challenge is leading the way with young people. We've actually got 30,000 plus young people, young nurses and midwives joining the Nightingale Challenge globally in something over 70 countries. And I think, again, Lisa may mention this. That's a terrific wave of young people thinking about the world differently and hopefully changing the way that we will all work in the future. And of course, for this seminar, isn't it great that India is the largest group within that? Again, Lisa will give you the numbers, but I think we're over 8,000. You are leading the way globally. So, as I said at the beginning, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this exciting webinar. I look forward to hearing what people have to say and to hearing what comes out of it in the end. And let me at this point hand over to our director for the Nightingale Challenge, Lisa Bayliss-Pratt, for what I know will be a great webinar. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Lord Crisp. That's a wonderful introduction to this really exciting hour and a half that we're going to spend together. I would just like to say a huge thank you to nursing colleagues across India that have been right by my side in helping to get the Nightingale Challenge off the ground. This has been one of the most rewarding pieces of work that I've done in my career to date, and I'm always so impressed, amazed, and I'm really delighted that I have the support of fantastic people like the people on the panel today with this webinar, and all of your colleagues across India and beyond that have really stepped up to the plate to provide me with inspiration, with ideas, to get behind me and really try to raise the profile and status of our young nurses and midwives across the world. So if I could have the next slide, please. I'd just like to really, again, pay tribute to you and share with you the huge strength that you've got in India. I mean, we have got the Nightingale Challenge in almost every corner of India. You know, every region, every area has really, you know, embraced the Nightingale Challenge. And to have over 8,500 participants across India, the power of that young nurse workforce that's going to take forward brilliant innovations, that's going to raise the status and the profile of the profession, is something to be truly proud of. And I really, really hope that, you know, this is just the beginning of our young nurses being able to be given the leadership opportunities to step up to these challenges and really start to change the game, really, in relation to their position and the influence that they can bring to bear on patients and the local people that they care for. So I'm now really delighted to hand over to Dr. Annie, that's going to talk to us about what she's been doing in terms of really taking forward this brilliant initiative. Dr. Annie, sincere thanks for your continued support, your engagement. I'm really excited now to hear about you from a nursing and policy perspective, which is so important in terms of influencing what nurses do and how they operate.
Thank you. Anthony, can I just take up?
Hi there, Dr. Annie. Yes, I'll stop sharing.
Hi, good morning and good afternoon to one and all, to all the participants over here. First of all, I thank the organizers of Nursing Now, giving us an opportunity to highlight and give a visibility what are all the challenges we as nurses face in the leadership in India. So that is the real great thing that especially for India you have organized. I really thank all the organizers who are working behind the screen for quite a long time for this thing. So let me share my screen. I'm going to give my views how Indian scenario, which is not really, nurses are not much involved in the policy making board, or their voices are not heard. So one thing, whenever we think of policy making, we need to have three pillars to represent to the policy making level. We need to be very much strengthened in three pillars. One is education, the second one is regulation, the third one is associations. The others are miscellaneous factors, we can say. The first one, when it comes to education, if you see time immemorial, there are two separate things. One is medical education and nursing education. When we talk about medical education, always this country has given so much importance to the quality of medical education. When it comes to nursing education, instead of strengthening, rather it has gone into the deviated path, producing highly skilled nurses. There has been always, whenever there's a dearth of nurses occur, they started producing semi-skilled nursing laborers, like nursing aides, nursing assistants, attenders, or they call them as a general duty assistant. They all with overlapping role with nurses, so that, and also during this time, there's a privatization and corporatization happened in India on the run. So that time, what happened, the nurses who really looked for a good avenue and a good recognition, they migrated to other countries. So because of that, there is a dearth of nurses happening in this country. So this led to poor quality of nursing care, and also there is no people with the higher qualification, with the higher position to hold the higher positions in the sectors, in the private sector as well as the government sector, or otherwise it is mostly occupied by the doctors, the higher level posts, or non-nursing professionals are holding the highest post in the sectors. And here, when we talk about a medical education, when we studied in 1980s, I still think we are all graduated from college, the common university, where they were having arts and medicine, everything. But in late 90s, there's a separate medical university started coming into the scene of in the country. And later 2000, it started coming as a health university. But however, there is no representation as given in these universities for either as academic officer or controller of examination or registrar, nothing. Maybe one or two university in the health universities, maybe they might have given, but I could definitely say majority of the universities does not have a representation for nursing education to say what is our issues and challenges, what we are facing in nursing education, how we need to reform this education, that need to be addressed over there. That is one of the first pillar I would like to address. The second pillar, when it comes to regulation, I can divide this one into three aspects. One is the Indian Nursing Council that represents the national body. The second one is the State Nursing Council, and the third one is state government directorates. When it take the National Council, Indian Nursing Council, they have really worked hard. They brought up a lot of courses, platter of courses, which gives you a specialization for so many areas like neonatal nursing, onco nursing, nurse practitioner course, and all that. But at the same time, we have not given a role clarity in each and every area. Even today, whatever I have been studied up to PhD, my license is only a registered nurse and a registered midwife. And the other license, which from time immemorial, from 1926, this country had the first licensure status for nurses. We have only A&M license or lady health visitor license, and registered nurse and registered midwife. As the country evolved, the State Nursing Council really failed to address, based upon the Indian Nursing Council syllabuses, we could have established at least a clinical nurse specialist license or advanced nurse practitioner license or nurse practitioner licenses. That would have been given a clear-cut idea for the nurses to go further to occupy the higher level of positions. So that is the national level thing. And when it comes to state council, almost we have 28 state nursing councils in India. But except few council, most of the council's president, that the chairman of the council, is only a doctor. That is either he is a director of medical services or the director of medical education. So where is the representation for nurses to go and represent at the policy making level with the government? And there is not a big representation. A doctor only represents for a nurse. Definitely he cannot be a real voice of a nurses when he goes and represents for a nurses in such a big country. We have a lot of issues in this country. So the third thing is state government. In the state government, we have three directorates, that is Directorate of Public Health, Directorate of Medical Education, Directorate of Health Services. In all these three directorates, almost some of the states, the posts are vacant or posts are not created. Like our state, if you take, there is a DD nursing, JD nursing is there, but it has been all occupied by the non-nursing professional, or some of the posts are vacant. So in the southern part of the country, with so much of educational institution and things like that, I can imagine the northern part of the country, because of the skewed distribution of the nursing institution and other sector. Of course, there are exemptions are there, like in the West Bengal, there is a directorate of nursing where all the three sectors of nursing, public health nurse and nursing educators and the nursing service people have been grouped under nursing director. So this is the time we have to advocate for ourselves to establish in each and every state there should be a state nursing directorate, so that our voice could be really being heard at the policy making level to represent ourselves our views, our challenges, our better outcomes, what we are facing. So much of research studies being done by the nurse educators, but when it comes to implementation, it is not really coming to a real execution at all. Maybe one or two institution I can say exemption, but we have to take in this big country, we have to take the big sample only. So in that way, really, we are not really doing great things. And if you take the public health sector, see, that is one sector where they even have a district public health nursing officers, but in most of the states it is vacant. Of course, you can take in Tamil Nadu, we were for the past 25 years, there were a lot of posts were vacant for a district public health nursing officer post. So it is not in only in this state, throughout the state, these posts are kept vacant. So the nurses are not given adequate promotion to represent themselves to the higher level bodies, and so that when there is a policy or a political involvement is there, we need to represent that such things are really not happening here. And one thing, in a real ray of hope here in this present government of India, I'm really excited about Ayushman Bharat community health officer. Every sub-center, 5,000 population is being converted into health and wellness center, where I'm so delighted. Every BSc nurse has been appointed, or a diploma nurse with the 6 months course, she has been appointed as a community health officer. Almost many states have appointed through the webinars I came to understand from the government of India official. So far, 11,400 nurses are working as a community health officers. So that is the biggest boon, because we had a testimonies from them recently, how they have changed the 1,500 household in that community, how the nurses are really making a big change. So they have already started the mantle of taking the leadership roles, and definitely these people is going to be representing to the government, because public health is the biggest backbone of our country. So that is strengthened, means definitely we are going to be strengthening our nursing, so that we will be representing at policy making level. But these are all, I'm just thinking it will happen in future, or it is happening at the moment. The third pillar, when you come to association, we can think of a national association and state association. We have a big association, Trained Nurses Association of India, and state level, we have a state branches, state association. There are a lot more associations are there, but to any profession to survive in the policy making, the association should play a big role with the political lobbying. So that it has to keenly to start from the local, the district level and the state level and the national level, and coming to the international level. I'm so excited when ICN has joined with the Nursing Now campaign and did all these things. See, they have about 193 nursing associations joined there, whereas my own national association, TNA, still not a member of the ICN. So that is the pathetic thing. So we need to really advocate our nurses representatives, so that we will have a stronger associations to represent our voice. So that here I would like to give a comparison. When in India there is a great lobbying always happens with the Indian Medical Association. So in such a way that nurses, imagine we have around approximately 18 lakh nurses. I always think in this connection, 18 lakh nurses mean in average on a family, 5 votes in each family. Imagine my vote bank. So that is how we need to advocate with the politicians to make our representation. So other factors, simply like a gender, I think somebody is going to talk about it. So I have given a little bit limited promotional avenues in the people who are working at the lower level, in the staff nurses level. They retire as staff nurses. They don't get much of a promotion. Maybe in a private sector, 1 or 2, there are things happening, but it's mostly in the government sector, they really retire as a staff nurses. So there is lack of motivation, lack of respect, in country like India, it's a patriarchal country. So mostly in all the profession, like the doctors, pharmacists and other people, they are holding the highest position in the thing. So where here feminine dominated profession, we are overrepresented by the female population. So our wages also is been varying. I think WHO in 2019 report, it gives clear cut, the women are paid 28% lesser than the male. So this is the thing, see, in country like this, they respect and give a recognition the pay package what we are carrying for. So that is also very, very important. So we need to have a good career avenue, we need to have, and also we need to have a good motivation and a career pathway. So we need to create good, sorry, next slide. Okay. I just want to finish off with 2 slides. The one is structural factor, what we are lacking, and the functional factor, what we are lacking. The structural factor, low levels of nursing representation at the national and state level. We need to modify to represent ourselves as a policymakers in this country. And strongly advocating representational body for the profession on nursing issues or less, or they are there but not that much strong. And lack of clarity around authority and accountability for decision making. Though they say that she's a head nurse, but they have given the authority, they are not given accountability. They have not given any power to the post. So that need to be done. Then lack of role clarity between the state and national level institution, as health is a state subject. So that need to be done. And functional factors, when you think of functional factors, nurses are not appropriately prepared for the leadership or managerial position in this country. The eligibility criteria restrict the nurses from applying for leadership positions. Maybe 1 or 2 exemptions are there, but I'm talking on the general. And lack of transparency in decision-making process. And also, this is the main thing I really would like to address, lack of role clarity for each licensure cadre. This we need to address strongly, because in our country, even I finish a MSc nursing, I do the same job. Even a A&M does this. No overlapping is happening. When we are making the things, the licensure, but sorry to really tell, our council is the 1926 established council, which is a 94-year-old council, where the rule amendment has not been done. For one of the rule is act is section is to monitor the training and practice of nurses. You know, in 1935 it was done. Imagine 1935, pre-independent era, and now we are in the 21st century. We need to do a lot of things to monitor the training and practice par with international standards. And actually our council have done that work, and I'm waiting for the approval from the government to each cadre of license, what is the roles and responsibility and accountability. And before I conclude, I would like to say about few words about my LEAP program, that is Leadership Excellence and Professionalism program. This is the one we have actually, fortunately in 2019 itself, I felt there is a vacuum of preparing second level leaders at the educational sector. So what we did is we prepared the vice principals and professors onto the LEAP training as a leadership training. So we had a bunch of 200 nurse educators as a leadership trainers in our hand. When Nightingale Challenge was declared, it was so easy for us to sweep through in the swing. Like we call them, and we are tailor-made in a different level to reach to the below 35-year age group, to the bottom level, grassroots level public health nurse and the clinical nurse to reach it. We made, you could see here my agenda is given. People think it is one-day didactic program. It is not at all a didactic program. We would like to tell you it is more of a participatory role play, giving a scenario, simulation based. That is what we did. And I would like to really, I don't have a time, so I'm not sharing some of my emails, what people have shared. Madam, we have come to understand we are already leaders at the bedside level for patients, for decision making, to call, whether to call a daughter or what to do. And you have really kindled the spirit that I have got a leadership role. Then only thing I have to present assertively. So that was so much feedback we got from many nurses. That was so, you know, some of the, we were conducting in every district, 10 institutions we were conducting. People were calling me, Madam, why don't you give an opportunity for our institution so that we will call from small clinics and small medium level hospital nurses to participate, so that we will develop such things. So this was the amazing feedback we got it. I really have to thank my LEAP team for this. It is a teamwork. We had an expert LEAP team, and you can see here the statistics I have given. So far we have trained 1,323 nurses, and we are actually, due to COVID, we are not able to roll out the program, but I'm delighted that they have extended up to 2021 June, this year of the nurse midwife. Definitely I will be rolling out on this. And apart from that also, if we need, I think a leader cannot be just like that, born in a 1 day or 6 months or in a training. If you need to just kindle the spirit and that insight you should give, I think definitely this program has done. And I'm sure with this, my bedside nurses definitely are going to move to the boardroom in the next decade. I'm sure my bedside decision maker will become a boardroom leader. Thank you so much.
Absolutely brilliant, Dr. Annie. And as I said at the beginning, you're a true inspiration in so many ways. And it's only through strong senior nurse leaders like you that we can empower our young nurse leaders. And you're really, you know, so many steps ahead of the game, really. Looking at this programme that you started in 2019, it's so relevant, isn't it, to today? Especially the focus on well-being and welfare for our workforce, because we do know that COVID has affected our nurses and the wider health workforce in so many ways. I think we all realise we have to look after each other as well. So thank you so much. I do just want to flag to colleagues and people on the webinar, I have put a few questions of thought into the webinar, and a couple of things I just would like to flag here and now is we are at Nursing Now with the Nightingale Challenge. We are preparing, Catherine Irwin and Hannah Finch are leading this work around a mass lobby to parliaments and governments, and we'll be creating lots of toolkits and information to help young nurses and more senior nurses to learn and find ways to really get their voice heard at those really important, whether it's the Ministry of Health or your parliaments, to really make sure that they start to understand what it is nurses do and the power that they bring to society and community. So please look out for that. And also, just finally, Dr. Annie, I would say again, on the clear roadmap of career pathways, motivation, I hear this all over the world. So we've got to also think about how we make it simple for people that aren't nurses or in the profession to understand our roles, our education and our value. Thank you so much. And now I know we're going to be equally inspired by Professor Suresh Sharma, who's going to talk about leadership development and developing leadership positions for nurses. Over to you, Professor Suresh.
Thank you very much, Professor Lisa. At outset, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to Professor Lisa, Nursing Now Initiative, entire team for giving me opportunity to be here. Developing leadership positions for nurses in India is a crucial need of the time. If we take an example of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, there are few positions which have been sanctioned since independence, like Nursing Advisor to Government of India, and few subordinate positions, 4 or 5 in number. But if you see today, there's only one position, that is Assistant Director of Nursing, is filled. And Nursing Advisor to Government of India is an important position which is lying vacant since last more than 3-4 years. This directorate, for a huge country, there's a large population, need of healthcare, only handful positions. And if you see into other wings, there are plenty of positions which are occupied by our medical colleagues. Now, I would like to bring you to the states. Take an example of any state, any ideal state in India where there are Directorate of Health Services, but is there position for nurses? No. Only in few states, West Bengal, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, and few more to name, there are positions like director and deputy director. But as Dr. Annie said, these positions are there, but they are not occupied by nurses. In other states, these positions does not exist. Let's take an example of my own states in Uttarakhand. 3 years back, after a long battle, agitation by nurses, the post of joint director and deputy director, 4 positions sanctioned, but till now they are not fit. Now let us look into region. Why these positions are not existing, which are required for empowerment of nurses in country and which is essential for the better health services of the country. The reason lies our associations and societies are failing in lobbying. And we are not able to influence our parliament, we parliamentarians, political system, and we are failing to make them understand that nursing is a gold mine, unidentified gold mine to make a huge change in the quality of services which are provided in India. There could be 360-degree change into the health service system if parliamentarians and policymakers understand that this unrecognized gold mine need to be tapped. And that only happen once nurses comes to policy making. So this is one failure, that our associations are weak. We are falling into political lobbying or influencing the parliamentarians and policymakers. Thing is, gender is hugely influencing us. In 1990, 95% of nurses were female in India. Fortunately, this has changed now. We did a survey in India, including 14 states from India, and this has gone to 14% from 1990 to 2020. But still, the ratio is very low. India and whole Southeast Asia is a male-dominated society. Anything which is done by men is more recognized than women, but this is not a correct, because female is contributing more either in home, society, or in a profession, but the mindset is like that. Therefore, this imbalance of gender equality is also influencing the recognition of this gold mine, the unrecognized gold mine of nurses in healthcare delivery system. Gender and weak associations are the two main factors which are probably affecting that the positions are not created. If positions are created, they are not filled. Now, what is the way forward for us? Way forward for us is that we must have a collective bargaining. We should strengthen our associations and societies, and we should start working upon taking up the national agendas and state agendas and start let them making one by one. I'm happy that the present government is very active. And after the COVID, they have realized that there must be huge investment in health. And they are also started understanding now that the nurses are important partners and team members into healthcare delivery system. Now, the new policy, that is National Nursing and Midwifery Commission, is underway. And there are many more developments which may happen. But National Association, that is Trained Nurses Association of India, which is very important association, which has a national representation and state representation. They must have.
Thank you, dear.
Sorry, my connection got lost. I'm back now. So they must put forth that these positions must be immediately created in Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. The positions which are created and lying vacant must be immediately filled. And similarly, at state level, their state branches must meet to into the assemblies, and then they should influence them that the directorates must be created, or a nursing cells must be created in each cell. In each cell, there must be at least 4 joint directors who are assisted by at least 2 deputy directors and sufficient number of ministerial staff, so that nurses can enter into policy making, and huge difference into empowerment of nurses and healthcare delivery system may happen. This is the way forward for us. Thank you very much for listening to me patiently.
Thank you so much, Professor Suresh, and absolutely, it's so important that we get those nurses in key leadership positions, and indeed the State of the World Nursing did recommend that we had chief nursing officers. So I think it's an agenda that's really important. I think it's a long agenda that we have to keep influencing incrementally as we go, and I do think the mass lobbying that we're going to do at Nursing Now is something to really get hold of in terms of raising this profile and the importance of senior nurses in leadership roles, leading and delivering healthcare systems. So thank you so much for that, and look forward to some questions later when we come to the panel. So Thank you. So now we would like to hand over to yet another very special nurse, and this is Iris James, who is one of our role model young nurses that's been with us since really the very beginning of the Nightingale Challenge. In fact, before the beginning, she joined us in May at a pre-World Health Assembly event that she was successful in securing with us. So Iris, over to you now to talk about nursing and gender and the influence that this is having on India at the moment.
Hello everyone.
Hi Iris, hello, lovely to see you.
Yes. Let me start by saying that youth are the future of any country, and it is my privilege to be the youngest among the panel and hope to see our energetic young nurses at every policy meeting table and every discussion from now on. Moving on to gender entrenched roles, nursing in India is female dominated, but females face many challenges on the path to leadership. They are not able to make individual decisions about their career path. Many are not motivated for higher education and leadership roles. They are usually responsible for housework and childcare and remain with less time for self-development. That is, they are unable to bring about a work-life balance. Some are unable to accept women as leaders, still in some parts of the society, and face financial limitations and need to consult before they are able to spend any money on themselves. Male leaders of other professions, they try to overpower female nurse leaders. So there are many mechanisms already in place to uplift women and the underprivileged. And I laud the efforts of the Indian government and the nursing associations. But the solution for the problems are, while we focus on the weaker section, the other sections must not feel left behind. For example, while we focus on female nurses, the male nurses should equally be represented. Each individual must feel that they have equal opportunities for jobs, leadership roles, promotions, and is entitled to equal pay for equal work, regardless of whether they are in private sector or government sector. Need of the hour is multi-criteria based evaluation systems or examinations to identify individual competencies, insight, and ability to inspire, and to identify the skill set within a person and leadership qualities to consider for higher roles, promotions, or leadership roles, etc. We must set up a nurses feedback system to employers, nursing councils to better understand and solve the challenges faced by individual nurses. Thank you.
Brilliant, Iris. Thank you so much. And, you know, I know that you know the Executive Director of Nursing now, Dr. Barbara Stillwell, that's steeped in expertise around gender and nursing and health. So it's a super topic, and there's lots to go at there. And I think lots of changes afoot on this particular agenda. But thank you so much for joining us, and I am sure everybody on the webinar and the panel are super proud to see such a fantastic young nurse with us today, stepping up to the challenge of presenting to nearly 700 people actually. So well done, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Well, now we move on to another superb colleague that's really supported the Nightingale Challenge from the off, that's been bold in working with us around piloting lots of different ways to deliver leadership training to young nurses, and that's the fantastic Captain Usha Banerjee, who is the Group Director of Nursing for Apollo Hospitals. And Captain Usha is going to talk to us about the leadership challenges within Apollo. So Captain Usha, over to you.
Good afternoon. It's an immense pleasure for me to be here on this platform, and I thank the organizers of the Nursing Now Nightingale's Challenge for giving me this opportunity, and my personal gratitude to Lord Nigel Crisp and Miss Lisa. Thank you so much for having me over. I have stepped in place of Miss Sangeeta Reddy, who's had some exigency, hence I'll try to do what best I can to speak about my topic. Well, I think my colleagues here, Dr. Anis, Professor Suresh, have beautifully highlighted the magnitude of the problem that we face in our country, and have also highlighted upon how to resolve and what's way forward. We all understand that nursing plays a very pivotal role in the healthcare system. And we also know, despite being one of the most important resources, they have had a very subliminal role to play in the entire healthcare arena. But I see a significant and a paradigm shift in the way this is now being looked upon. And I think there is a robust thrust that is coming up in order to make nursing a significant contributor. And that's something very delightful to see. We also know that a lot of policy and reforms are underway. And most of them have probably focused on smaller issues like nursing numbers and probably salary. But it's equally important for us to focus on creating nursing leadership roles so that they can contribute significantly to the profession and elevate the status of nursing in the country. We all know that strong nursing leadership has a potential to influence the healthcare system at large and bring about better healthcare outcomes. We know that many a time there has been a lack of support from nurses themselves. And I say this with conviction, though there are many, many nurses on this platform. And I think it is important for every single individual at any level to contribute to the profession. And I'm also delighted to see that there are many nurse leaders who have emerged in the last decade and who are taking on multiple responsibilities to ensure that the profession is looked up and is given a better status and positioning in the healthcare system. And I think urgent institutional reforms must be underway in order to get this collective advocacy that we would like to see. Status hierarchy amongst different healthcare workers in an organization has probably pitched nurses at a lower level. But I must also admit at the same time that today organizations are ready to give leadership positions to nurses. But many nurses have not stepped into the career aspiring to be great leaders. So I think there is a complete mindset shift that needs to take place amongst every single nurse who starts practicing at the bedside, because she is a patient advocate. She is a leader in some form or the other. And I'm glad this Nursing Now Nightingale's Challenge has brought about a spotlight on young nurses, less than 35 years, who are now enrolled into the program and are beginning to undertake a lot of leadership programs and roles so that they can probably set out to be the future leaders. Now, coming to the Apollo context, which I'm supposed to speak upon, I'm a die-hard optimist and I see a bright light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm very, very fortunate that I work for an enterprise that has always supported nursing. I work for one of the greatest healers who walks the earth, the legendary Dr. Pratap C. Reddy, who's been awarded with the Padma Vibhushan, the most distinguished coveted award for contributing to healthcare and to humanity at large. He leads by example. Now, if you look at the brand Apollo, the nurse is the logo. This was envisioned more than 40 years ago. So it is for the nurses who make a part of this organization to take the profession into the future. Look at the positioning of the nurse leader. I'm an example. I started off as a nurse at the bedside and quickly leapfrogged into who I am today. So the positions are available. And I worked in two other great organizations before joining Apollo. That's the Max Healthcare and the Manipal Hospital Group. And I'm very, very proud to say that these organizations have always given great recognition and importance to nurses. So for me, I say that the time has already arrived. And looking at Iris speaking today on this platform is a moment to celebrate. It means that young nurses have also started to arrive on this platform. So we have to make meaningful dialogues and take it to the next level. I'm glad to see young nurses in Apollo being taught leadership programs and enrollments in the top-notch Ivy League kind of institutions like IIM, XLRI. We've seen a different role conceptualized. Our chief operating officer at the flagship hospital is a nurse. There are nurses who are in different roles. They are clinical specialists. We have a beautiful academic clinical program where our institution teachers are part of the institution and we work together to bring about a big change. And I'm really, really glad that we run multiple leadership programs for young bedside nurses. I would great pride say that a young student in the Apollo Hospital is part of every committee of the Apollo system. I have a student sitting in the infection control committee along with the doctors and other peers. So that's empowerment. That's starting to create leadership. And I'm fortunate to say that in this COVID pandemic, nurses have risen like a phoenix from the ashes. They've stepped out with physical endurance, mental agility, and a sense of social responsibility. And the world is seeing that. The world is seeing that. I would, with conviction, say that there is no single meeting in the Apollo system which does not have a nurse representation. I work for a great organization, and I believe that most of the organizations in the country are moving in that direction. NABH, JCI, all these accreditation bodies have facilitated this journey. And I'm sure we will see an evolution of a revolution. I will see many young nurses aspiring to be who we are today. And I know they will do better than what we did. And I know that there is a probability of our country being on the top notch. And many, many institutional leaders are working towards this. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk.
Thank you so much, Captain Usher. That was just, I think, spot on. And I love, you know, the diehard optimism that you show tirelessly. And I think just for me, one of the things that I really noticed when I came to visit you with Lord Chris, when we launched the Nightingale Challenge at the Apollo Centre, was just the respect that you had of the people around you, the leaders, the chief executive, the chair, all of the people that were really involved in the decision making at Apollo were absolutely, you know, listening to you, engaging with you. And I think that really shows leadership in action when you are respected, you're listened to, and you're treated as an equal. So I think something for people to think about when they're striving to be heard, to change policy, to influence practice. It's so important that you feel and you're heard and respected. And I certainly observed that on that small occasion back sort of last year. So thank you again, and look forward to people posing questions to you on the panel shortly. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now move to our next speakers, which is Dr. Elsie Sanatombi Devi and Matt Daly, who actually works with the Nightingale Challenge team and has been part of, again, another really exciting innovation that India has stepped up to the plate to work with us on, and that is to look at social media and the platform of Facebook to see how we can create communities of practice in a way to share leadership development opportunities with each other and also further afield. So I'm going to hand over to you both now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello there. I'm just going to change over the screen so I can give a short presentation with Sana.
Yes, Dr. Matt.
Hello there.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm just going to change the screen over so that we can give our presentation. Okay, hopefully that has worked, so it's exactly the same. So hello there. So myself, as well as Dr. Elsa Sana, we're very, very fortunate in being involved with the Nightingale Challenge Nursing Now joint pilot. That was, the Nightingale Challenge Nursing Network. This was a joint pilot between the University of Salford, HEE Global Engagement and the Nightingale Challenge. And the aim was to explore the use of communities of practice for young nurses and midwives to further their leadership and professional development, sharing the knowledge and experience on a virtual platform. This was based on the Face Mums platform of supporting new and anti and postnatal mothers and the associated learning for them. And there was an associated study on this. This was an absolutely fabulous opportunity of a pioneering, innovative global learning and support system for early career nurses and midwives. And I was very fortunate to be joined by Elsa, Dr. Elsa, who was fabulous on this and supporting the nurses and midwives in India. Looking forward, there is activity at the moment to capitalise on the knowledge and experience gained from this, and HEE is developing a plan to take the next step and continue this forward into the future. I'd like to hand over to Elsa now. If it's possible to just let me know and I'll change the titles for you.
Sure.
Allow you to talk.
Yeah, you can handle my slide, no issues. Thank you, Dr. Matt. And thank you, Professor Lisa, for giving us an opportunity to share a few of our experiences and also future perspective on how some of the social media can be used to enhance and see how mothers feel about it, and also through the nurses, as Captain Usha Banerjee has rightly mentioned, on taking up young nurses below 35 years to see how we can mobilize leadership and how we can include the young nurses onto a great platform which we have a change. We thank Nursing Now and Nightingale Challenge. This is Year of the Nurse. It is not only famous for pandemic, but also it has actually given a double opportunity to nurses to shape and see what best leadership means and what health outcome could be, especially for country like India. Can I have the next slide? Matt? Yeah. This was a project pilot which was well mentioned by Dr. Matt. We have enrolled members from across the country, nurses who are less than 35 years of age, working across the length and breadth of India. So we were having threads being posted on experiences sharing absolutely, and depending on the unique experiences of each region, because India being a very diverse culture, we have different experiences which the nurses would share. So we had a lot of interactions between the nurses and the mentors, and they do react on the post, and also they comment on the post that we make on the 3 countries Facebook that we had. So how we were well connected to UK, Uganda, and India was very interesting, because mentors had access to sharing of budding experiences in 3 countries. It was quite surprising because budding in water was something very unique which we don't see in India unless it is accidental. But we can see in UK how mothers do the budding in water, and their spouse supporting them during the labor. But Indian protocol doesn't allow a husband to enter into the labor room and support her for her labor. So India, basically, if you look at, we share a lot of ritualistic approach to pregnancy as well as childbirth and also postnatal mothers. Can you have the next slide? Next slide, please, Matt.
Yeah, that's changing.
So we are looking into the Indian perspective. We have a lot of cultural diversity. So the cultural experiences which were shared by the midwives across the breadth and length of India was looking at the unity and the diversity that India shares. It's a slogan which is in the heart of every Indian. So diverse culture across north, south, east, and west of India is very, very unique, and the same process of birth itself is taken very differently, and the rituals are very different. So postnatal care differs from each region to region, and the meaning associated to every practice was very different. So if we look at the culture in India, the mother of the woman who is delivering is the prime caregiver. So because of these cultural practices, most of the time, if I look at South, the women, when they are in the 7th month of their pregnancy, they are usually shifted to the mother's house so that she could take rest and then deliver and then stay again another 5-6 months. And when she is out of the postnatal period and has some confidence to look after her baby, then she comes back to the husband's house. So the mother becomes a prime caregiver in India, if you look at. And in India, in South India, one thing which I see, a beautiful concept is they have a specialized birth attendant who takes care of the mother and the baby for 40 days. So this is one thing which I have seen, which is not there in North and East and the West. But this is a very good practice where the mother is totally taken care of as well as the baby. So a few of the highlights in the cultural differences that we see is confinement period of the mother. In India, across the country, we have confinement period, maybe ranging from a month to say 40 days or 50 days, where the mother is totally given a good postnatal care by the maternal side, or if they happen to be in the husband's house, the care will be given by the family members. So postnatal diet is another area which is totally based on the local acceptance, based on the religion, based on the caste, based on many factors, good and bad food, hot and cold food. There are so many there are differences which every culture, every different region in India accepts to their variety of diet into their community. And oil massage and bath is what I have seen in the South. So every mother who delivered or every baby who is born will be given a very good oil massage and hot water bath, very hot water bath. It is like a rebirth again when you have a hot water bath, and that's how the mother regains all her strength and health. And also belly binding practices. Today we have abdominal binders, but in some cultures people do tie clothes around their belly so that uterus contracts and the mother gets back to shape. And head covering is another. When they come out of the postnatal period, mothers usually cover their head and also the small baby. Usually they wear a cap for the baby, and that is to protect them from the wind and sudden weather change so that they don't get sick. And another very interesting thing that we see in India is disti chukka. With a black spot is put on the baby's face. Usually the mother takes the kajal from her eye and then puts on the baby. The focus is that the point of attention of the eyesight gets located to the point of the black spot, and that is how you avoid evil spirit or the evil eyesight. So in North India, what people do is they put 2 matchsticks on the cap of the child, or the woolen cap of the child, so that the same effect, that is the the focus of the eyesight changes, so that the child does not get any evil eyesight. Next slide, please. Matt, next slide.
Yeah.
So this was one of the challenges that we have. The diet plays a very important role. There are some diets which are acceptable and not acceptable in the Indian culture. To an antenatal mother, nobody gives seafood because they said it contains mercury that harms the unborn baby. Brinjal is not accepted because they said that it is used for treatment of amenorrhea. And also unpasteurized milk because they contain germs and that may cause diseases to the mother. Sesame seeds induces abortion. Papaya is never given to any pregnant women, especially in the South, because they said it causes uterine contraction. Pineapple, yes, so that it softens the cervix and leads to miscarriage. And fenugreek seeds contain high measure of phytoestrogens that stimulates menstruation. And the refined flour products are not given to a pregnant mother because they contain preservatives that harm the unborn baby. And also grapes as a good fruit is not given because that can raise body temperature and causes complexities. And it also contains resveratrol that imbalances hormone in the pregnancy. So that can induce greatly to have an abortion. That is why some of these food and fruit items are not given to mothers. These are some of the cultural differences and the explanations which is given, which scientifically one has to prove and see. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Matt. Yeah. So a few challenges which we have, sorry. Please go back to the previous slide. Matt, please go back to the previous slide. The next slide.
Previous one, yeah.
Next slide, next slide.
No.
It has animation. No, the next slide. The next slide, next slide. Can you have the next slide? The previous,
So,
yeah, fine. So few of the challenges which we had during the Facebook project was that accessibility. So many of the nurses in the team had poor network in difficult terrains because nurses included in the project were also from hill stations. So on those days when they had a kind of heavy wind or rain, they had issues with the connectivity. And many nurses were also new to the Facebook because the type of Facebook that we use was very specific group where the upload techniques are slightly different than what we use today on our social media. Tagging and connecting responses were one issue for them, and the language concern. So I called up and asked what happened, why they are not responding to or reacting to the post that is being made. There's, some of them responded saying that my English is not so not polished, and so we are a little shy and they inhibit to respond to the post that is being made. Therefore, we need to really enhance their language and also to post, and the leadership quality and the assertiveness would come from within these nurses in the maybe in the next project to come on. So then thereby we were hit with the pandemic. The pandemic spread and it halted the entire project. It's kind of stop and pause, but yet we are not giving up. We are looking at future perspective. So in the future perspective, can you just press? Yeah. In the future perspective, what I thought is we need to have 5 groups because India is so huge and we are not able to connect to every corner of India. So if we could have 5 groups like North, South, East, West, and also Central India to see if they could be compared with on the same page on various aspects of maternal health and also the midwives' experiences. And also we can also have another rural and urban challenges. We can have focus group discussion to see what could be the best focus that we need to look at and go for the next project. So unique cultural practices is one area where we need to use sensitive tools across India. India has many tongues, and India has too many cultures and traditions that are being followed. So therefore we need to see tools that are which already have cross-cultural translation, and also unique tools that are sensitive to the practices could be assessed, prepared and assessed so that we could get very good results out of the project that we are going to go ahead with. And also midwife empowerment impact. Now all the leaders in this platform has emphasized on having young leaders coming on the platform so that we could boost nursing into a different arena altogether. And 2020 being a very unique year, I think we got to lift up and then say that we need young nurses to lead the way and young nurses to be motivated on a platform where all leaders in this platform has well placed upon. And telemedicine has become, because of this pandemic, now all of us are using our technology to the maximum. And I'm sure all of us are doing lots of webinar, all of us are doing a lot of consultation online, many of us are volunteering to do counseling online. So I think we need to enhance the portals for nurses and also do counseling, because as Dr. Ani has rightly said, the community health nursing officers of India are doing a great job. This is because they have also inculcated that use of technology into their platform, where they are able to counsel patients of especially the vulnerable groups, and also people who need to be assessed are well thought of to the portals that the government has created and also the company has created. So counseling and also patient assessment could be done very well through these and enhanced technology portals, which can be utilized in collaboration, maybe public-private partnership, and then health can be really assured to especially the rural people, because today rural people, the vulnerable groups, the mother and the child, the vaccinations, and also elderly people really do suffer from unavailability of healthcare facilities, and we are seeing very pathetic situation during this pandemic. Can you go to the next slide, please, Matt? So at the end of this session, I would like to thank Lord Cripps, the co-chair nursing, Professor Lisa, and Dr. Matt Dilly, who have been my mentor all through, and Tracy Collins, for all 4 of you out here. Why I'm here today before this project is because of all your motivation and also the future project that are coming in and that is coming in, and we hope we will do much better. We hope and pray that our nurses will jump up and get into the platform and realize that we need to do something very unique and very different. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Elsa and Matt. That was brilliant. I mean, that pilot has exceeded expectations, to be honest. We didn't know if we could translate it across different countries. Yes, there are teething problems, but actually I think with COVID and the need for technology, as you've just said, it was really timely and probably helped us to get more technologically savvy than we probably thought we needed to be. And the second thing that I think is so rich and powerful is that cross-fertilization from different countries or just different organizations sharing their practices, their leadership passions, their leadership challenges. And Lord Crisp has written a book, well, he's written a few books, but there's a particular book that I think is worth noting called Turning the World Upside Down. And that book just talks about many things, but one of the benefits of learning from different countries and the surprising benefits that you get, you know, by working together, looking at different ways of doing things. And it isn't always money that changes it. Often it's a will, it's how patient person centric you are and how resourceful that you can be with what you've got. So I think this is a brilliant pilot, and I'm really confident we will go on to continue to roll this out and find ways to enable it to become a connection point for young nurses and their mentors all over the world, hopefully. So thank you so very much for being brave and pioneering with us on this journey. Super, thank you. So I think now we're over to the questions for the panel. So it might be, if it's okay with panel colleagues, if we go to the Q&A box, and I'll just open them up and maybe read them out. And if you want, do you want to put a hand up, colleagues on the panel, to see if you want to particularly say anything to those questions, and we'll see how we go, because as ever with technology, you try to be prepared, but it's a very different way of operating. So one of the first questions we've got, and we heard a lot of this, but we also heard the nurse leaders finding their way through this from the presentations, is how do we help our young nurses to continue to grow up? And I'm wondering, Iris, maybe this is a question for you. What actually has enabled you to step into this position? What energized you to enable you to be doing this today, being at Geneva last May at the Pre-World Health Assembly, and being part of the Nightingale Challenge?
Yes. Through my experiences at the World Health Assembly, I was energized to advocate for change in nursing. And I thought to myself, if not me, then who? I have what I am is less. And if I have to do, I have to start now and dedicate my efforts for the upliftment of nursing, because I saw there were many things that need to be changed in this in nursing, in my profession, that is very dear to me. And I utilized the global platform to bring changes globally. And it was a very great and wonderful experience at the WHO. And I got such great mentors as Professor Lisa and Dr. Barbara Stigler were all great mentors to me. And we had such an eye-opening experience to review and their functioning and the way what all they are doing, and to raise the profile of nursing in India and being a voice for the inclusion of nurses, midwives, and youth in policy making and leadership positions. And the main important thing I learned was that I cannot do everything alone. The importance for networking, collaboration in between the healthcare team, and that youth need to be energized and not exhausted. Youth always need to be energized because they are the future of the country. And one flame for change can start from me. And it is most important is that being research oriented and being patient oriented and practice evidence-based practice. That is the thing that I feel we are lacking in nursing. And when we have support, when we can support what we claim, then we will have better stand.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris. That's brilliant. And I just would like to bring in Captain Usher here to say, you know, it's really stuck with me, the die hard optimism strap line. And what's your advice to Iris and others in terms of how do you create that die hard optimism? Because I think really that's a lot of what Iris was saying. If not me, who? And how does she continue to feel that positivity throughout her career?
Well, I think many of us have walked on this path. There are many people you could emulate in this country. The many of them who've stayed back despite having great opportunities across the world just to make a significant contribution to nursing in this country. And I know many of them are seated by my side on this panel, and some of them are probably enrolled in as participants today. So I think there is enough example in this country to take a lead from. And I advise every single nurse that the opportunities are there. You just need to exploit it. Nobody's going to create that for you. You will have to just grab it, seize it, and be visible. It is important for every single nurse to invest in that opportunity. I said this in my earlier talk that not many set out in their careers aspiring to be great leaders. And we all know leaders are not born. You have to invest time, resource, finance. And I seldom see that in the very young nurses. They might be a far and few. So unless and until every single nurse aspires to be who she wants to be in this country 20 years down the line, that foundation has to be laid when you step in. And it is important for nurses to particularly know that they must have two critical sets of competencies. One is that they are a good clinical nurse, and that's given. Every single nurse is a good nurse, but she must invest and set herself to customize and tailor herself to the requirement of the context of time and place today, and know where she belongs in the hierarchy. So I think a lot of effort goes in to get there. Leaders can only facilitate that opportunity. People have to walk along. And I think this is an urgent call to the profession. The moment has arrived.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree more. We have to make these things happen for ourselves. And I think key ingredients are being willing to find a new path, and also to have mentors and role models. I think they too are really important for us. So thank you so much, Captain Usha. The next there's a few questions here that I'd like to pose to maybe Professor Suresh to start with, and that's about the education system in India. And there's some questions around why doctors and nurses aren't positioned as principals, and why doctoral nurses are not being used in nurse education. So I think probably quite a specific education question for India. I mean, does it feel right for Professor Suresh to start that, and then maybe others want to come in to answer that question? If possible, or maybe Dr. Annie, do you want to start if we've lost? I know he did have problems with his signal. And Dr. Annie, do you want to have a go at that question?
Definitely. See, the principal's post, it is there for always for the nurse educator. But if you see even today in most of the states, for example, the A&M schools, even today in my state, the principal of the A&M school is a doctor. I'm fighting till today, but I'm not able to make it up. But still, we are trying hard to do that. One thing, educational sector, because of the number of institutions have opened so much, and we have a more of opportunity, the visibility of principalship has come up. But still, as everybody said earlier, we need to have our knowledge and our skill sets, and we need to have the assertiveness to prove ourselves. Then only we can really portray ourselves as a good leaders, as a principal in an institution. Otherwise, it is not possible. And some of the questions, even some people, I was just looking into it, asking about the nurse educational side, the salary structure and other things. See, that's what I said. The association should be strong, and people need to recognize us. We are knowledgeable angels. In our country, people are very happy to say we are angels, but we are intellectuals and we are professionals. So we need to be We need to be really portray ourselves to come out of that cocoon and say, yes, we can do it. I can make the change. So this is what is needed. You can't be simply sitting, I'm a principal, nothing will come and fall in your place. So this is what the thing.
Thank you. Does any, Captain Usher, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, yes. I just wanted to, I've understood this question as why doctoral nurses are not used in nursing education.
Oh, doctoral nurses.
Sorry, I would like to defer here to this question, because I feel most of them who've done doctorates in nursing have stuck to nursing education in this country rather than come into hospital administration and make an impact in patient care. And I think that's what we should envision for the future, that the hospital administrators equally need to have higher grade of education, and probably then we bridge the service academic gap and we see true progress in the country. So that's one point I wanted to add in here.
Thank you. I think that's such a well-made point. And again, in other places in the world, this service education gap, the theory practice gap, is felt by many people. And if you can create joint appointments and have really close relationships and partnerships between service and education, I think that's one of the ways in helping to bridge that gap. Another question we've got is about the image of nursing, and we could spend a lot of time on the image of nursing, but maybe Elsa, I'll start with you, with sort of the Facebook pilot and thinking about nurses connecting with each other outside of their own organisation. Do you think this has the potential to help in sort of clarifying our image and what we want to look and see and be considered to be leading the way on? Over to you for thoughts, and then if anybody else would, maybe Iris could comment too after, from a young nurse perspective.
Thank you, Lisa, for the question. It's a beautiful question. I can see that they inhibit many a times, but from my experience of having mentored the community nursing officers of my state in Manipur, I think now they are quite vocal. Initially, they were, they were scared to post, or they were scared to comment using English as a medium. But I think now they have over a few, maybe 7-8 months since I'm mentoring them, I think they have come out with a kind of courage that we need to learn better, because once you all study, our curriculum instruction is totally in English medium, but when they go back to their state, they speak only their mother tongue. So, over time they get buried with their English language, and henceforth they hesitate. But I think relearning, as you rightly mentioned, is very important for them, and also creating a platform where they can express, which is very important. And regarding image of nursing, this is one thing which we all, we can talk for hours together, but I feel public has very good opinion about nurses, but we have low image of ourselves within the profession. I think we need to boost that. We need leaders, and we also need young leaders coming up to prove what you can do and what you are and who you are. And I think position matters in this regard, because as rightly said by the nursing registrar, Ani ma'am has rightly said, many places the nurses are not the leaders, where nursing leaders have to lead the nurses, someone else is leading the way. So I think we need to lead, and I think we need to jump out and do something very worthwhile. I think we need to come out of our comfort zone. We need not be only within the four side of the walls, but I think we need to look beyond. And I think this is the correct platform where they can come out and, using social medias, they can connect, they can, interact with people from across the country, or, beyond the country, and where not, because distance is not a big problem when technology is advanced. I think our image should be enhanced, and that plays a big role by the nurse leaders and also the educationists, who are the main, the pillars in this country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Elsa.
Lisa, may I add a few points with that, if you don't mind?
Please do, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. See, image, as Lisa very well said, it is the public perception. This COVID-19 has made a great change under public perception. Yes. They are really looking like us, like, we are the saviors and all that. But the media portrayal also we need to think in our country. So the media plays a big role, and they, at this time, COVID-19, they all heaped up and they said everything, we are doing great things. But one more thing, as I was addressing earlier, the image, if you want to be raised, my gender, the men nurses also to be part of my industry, so that it will be this the discriminatory role, because most of the time it is a feminine role. People think it is an extension of a household work the nurses are doing, so they take it for granted. So they lack respect within the teamwork. See, basically nursing is a teamwork. If you don't respect, people don't respect my profession, then how can I do the teamwork? It is not possible at all to have a better outcome. That is one thing. And the second thing is the salary structure. As I told you, the private and the government is a big gap, and still even in the government, contractual salaries are there and time scale pay are there. So in our country, the image is always looked upon by the way of your salary package, as I told you earlier. So whichever profession which pays you higher, they think that is the best profession. See, so people, I'm just thinking, in between there was a real fall in nursing admission throughout the country when there is IT was boomed up. Now we don't know if COVID has happened. Many people in whether they will come for admission. Some part of Tamil Nadu they're telling people are not ready to take up nursing. So what is the image? Then people, they talk one thing, they perceive one thing. I think we have not given a clear picture what is the nurse, because even if you ask my own colleagues, my doctors, they'll say, oh, you people are studying doctorate level, you do a research, you study this many things. They themselves are not aware. So I think we need to do some campaigns and other things to make the public aware what is nurses are, what is for one, except, you get most of the applause, the patients who are admitted in ICU and come out, they'll say, oh, nurses are wonderful. What about the other works? We are in the preventive role, curative role, promotive role, and those things are never being realized by the public. So this is the scenario. And as I told you, the Ayushman Bharat community health officers, that role is going to make real facelift for nursing. Every 5,000 population, my nurse is there, my degree nurse is there with a mid-level healthcare provider skill, and she's transforming that household of 1,500 families. That is going to be a voice in future for this country. I strongly believe in that, to change the image. Because a nurse should be, I always say, I don't know, I'm not taking time, the former Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, she has said in one National Associate Nurses Conference, then if nurses are given an opportunity to provide the primary care at the grassroots level, she will provide the primary care in a cost-effective and a care-effective manner. So this will be achieved only by nurses. The Sustainable Development Goals we can achieve only through nurses. So we need to they need to empower the nurses. Now only they started realizing, as Captain Usha said, we are really marching forward. We are, we are still, on the process of getting it. Only thing, people, youngsters like Iris, need to take the torch bearer, they need to take the light forward and do the things on. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr.
Lisa, I would just take 1 minute to add on to what was said. And I think I would like to say that this is a great year. And I said earlier, COVID has put us on a good limelight. I think we should just seize this opportunity. Yeah. Many countries have gone through what we've gone through, and they've come to a stage of much developed situation today, and we are there. And I know media plays an important role, and I know associations are doing whatever best they can. For example, the Trained Nurses Association of India has done quite a bit this year. We've had the president meeting up nurses on Raksha Bandhan, on the Independence Day. There's an association of nurse executives of India, largely top-notch nurse leaders who come in to form a group in order to bring in development. We encourage youngsters to write articles, publish research, showcase their work. That's how the profession grows. And I'm sure this year we witnessed a lot of media stories for nurses. Most of us have been in some magazine, some television, some write-up somewhere. So I think we've really come a long way. I think this is time for us to leapfrog into the future.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we shouldn't forget how far we've come and actually how COVID has expedited that journey. Now it's continuing the momentum and look forward, not back. I think maybe, we need to forge forward, not always keep looking back. But Iris, I feel that you should have the last word on this. the image of nursing from a young nurse perspective, what do you want it to be, see it as?
Yes, every young nurse takes her first step into the profession, and she is not much aware of what is nursing. And when she comes to know, she should not regret her decision that why I chose nursing. So it's up to us and to show them, to guide them, to mentor them. And as the co-panelists already uh, brought out in light the points of professional unity, networking, our portrayal among the healthcare team and among the society, these are all very important. And more than that, what are the basic rights, economic security, job security of nurses also plays an important role. And also, the COVID-19 has brought into the spotlight the challenges faced by nurses in the workplace. And hence, we all will strive together in this year, 2020, to meet our aims. And just applauding is for us is not enough. And nurses will start by staking claim in the policy making level so that they can, by that through the policy making and our research only we can improve our image. And nurses should also be active in the social media platform and also try to lend their voices to the policymakers. And this system, what I mentioned earlier, the evaluation system should also be very strong feedback to the employers, nursing council, to understand and the problems and face and to solve the challenges faced by the individual nurses. And who are the people with insight and who are people who are with competency should be identified, and there should be mentorship programs and international collaborations. And for example, the Nightingale Challenge is a very great leadership program. So young nurses should be motivated for mentoring, and this interprofessional collaboration is also a very good idea. And
That's
to show
super
them the
right. Perfect. And I think the one thing that you have that maybe some of the members on the panel didn't, because we're slightly older than you, is that there's that social media presence and ability to amplify you know, what you want to see and the things that you do to huge audiences. So I do think that the young nurses and midwives have a brilliant opportunity through social media to keep raising the profile and the status of what you do and the impact that the profession has. So that's superb. Well, we're really coming to the close of this fantastic webinar. I've had a really enjoyable hour and a half with everybody and learnt so very much. So I think it's just now left to say a huge thank you, everybody, for being part of this. It's been a privilege to be on such an esteemed panel with such passionate leaders in nursing. Please look out for more of these webinars that we do with Nursing Now, and also think about that mass lobby of your ministry, your parliaments, your parliamentarians, that give us yet another opportunity to really demonstrate the power and the sort of the gold dust, I think Professor Suresh said, that nursing actually is to societies across the world. So thank you so very much, and I hope you have a pleasant day for what is left of it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, bye, ma'am. Bye, Usha,
Bye,
ma'am.
bye, bye, bye.
Bye all.